Great. So apologies from Harriet. She's unable to join us this morning. She has to be somewhere. So as I reflected on what we did last week, I thought it would be nice for us to have a bit of a recap on what we covered last week and to see exactly how we can apply this principle into our lives, but especially as we build our business. So last week was largely on Habit 5, where we talked about Habit 5 says, seek first to understand before you are understood. And Habit 5 is about the way we connect and relate with one another. Specifically, it is the habit of empathic communication. Empathic communication. What does that mean? When we talk about communication, one of the most important skills in life. Think about it. If right now we are communicating, no? In every human interaction, there has to be communication. Interestingly, they say 60% of all management problems are due to poor communication. Another research was done specifically in marriage, and they noticed that the number one cause of breakdown in marriage is poor communication. And then on the flip side, another research indicated that the number one booster to have a good and happy marriage is to have good communication. So you notice that communication applies everywhere, in business, in life. As long as you have people, communication is good. And for communication to be effective, it is to and fro. Sorry about that. Let me just turn off those notifications so that we don't get a challenge. Okay. Yes, so for communication to be effective, it has to be to and fro. You cannot communicate yourself. It has to be to and fro. In other words, you send out information, it is received, you have feedback. You send out information, there is feedback. So that is communication. It has to be to and fro. And it becomes effective when there is understanding. It becomes effective if you understand one another. Otherwise, if you don't understand one another, it's like speaking to someone in Chinese and they are replying you in Swahili. It's not effective because then there is no understanding. People are not understanding each other. But effective communication comes about when there is understanding of one another. And that's why this habit is very critical. And one of the things Harriet talked about and even went deeper in was listening to understand, not to reply. Many times there is a temptation that when someone is talking to you, instead of listening to what they are saying, there is a temptation for us to think about what we shall say when they have finished speaking. And sooner or later, people begin to realize that when they are talking to you, your mind is not there. You are busy calculating what you're going to say immediately they finish speaking. So effective communication comes with listening, and we need to listen, not really to reply, but to understand, because many times people crave for us to understand. And this is only possible when we put other people first. Just like in real life, we say people are number one. What that means is that we put people first. We have to learn to put other people ahead of ourselves. So even when we are communicating, let us learn to, what does it mean for us to put the other person first? That is something for us to think about. So how do we apply this concept in our kind of business? First of all, it's important that when we are talking to people, we understand their why. In other words, let us take time to understand their needs. It's very important that we understand other people's why. And as we understand other people's why, let us focus on what they need, not what we want. Many times, Neolife offers many solutions. And also ourselves as individuals, we started this business for different reasons. Some people started it for health, other people started it travel, other people started it to help others, other people want to make money, other people want to look better, other people want to farm better. So we have different things that we are all chasing in the same opportunity. We are all pursuing different opportunities in the same opportunity, if I could put it that way. Now, the person that we are talking to may not necessarily need what we want. So while I am in here, maybe I am in for the money, there are people you're talking to, and for them, it's not really the money. So you may be so excited about, the money. And of course, there are many people who want the money. But maybe for some other person, it may not be the money per se. It may be that for them, they want to grow personally. They have seen, maybe they have other avenues where they earn money, and they are seeing this as an avenue for personal development. So what would you rather focus on? Would you rather focus on what you want or what they need? Maybe for you it is travel, but there are people who are well traveled. People have been all over the place. People have been around the world. So maybe for them, travel may not rank number one, but maybe for them, good health may come number one. Where do you put your focus? You put your focus on what you personally want or what they want. What this is telling us is we focus on what people need, not on what you want. I had an experience with this when I went to Nairobi some time back. And I went to a shop where they were selling shoes. They had all kinds of shoes. They had office shoes, they had leisure shoes, they had sports shoes. But one thing I appreciated about this lady, she asked me, what kind of shoe do you want? And then I said, I want something which is sporty, I run. So I want something which is, something I can use for sports. Now, she did not go to bring all the office shoes, no. Went and brought all the options of shoes in the category of sports. So in the same way, she could have said, this is a very good office shoe. When you put it on, but what I told her was, I'm not interested in the office shoes. I'm interested in the sports shoes. So in the same way, we need to be cognizant when we are talking to people that we are not only selling our interests, but we are putting their interests first. So it's important that we know their needs. And then secondly, we focus on what people need, not on what we want. Sometimes when we focus on what we want, the other person does not feel like, you are understanding me. So whenever you're talking to someone, ask them, what exactly do you want? Yesterday, I was meeting a new distributor. And the first thing I always ask new distributors is this: if there were 5 things you'd want to achieve in your life, what would they be? And I look at what comes first, what comes second, and what comes third. Many times, the first 3 things that knock your mind are the things that you care about the most. So always remember to go with what other people want, not what you personally want. And as they do that, demonstrate understanding. Demonstrate understanding. Whenever we are talking to people, let us demonstrate understanding. Someone says, but network marketing, I don't quite believe in it. It's okay. Say, I understand. But your products are expensive. I understand. The first thing that we should always do is to demonstrate understanding, because if we do not understand their point of view, then they will not understand our point of view. Remember, this thing says, seek first to understand before you are understood. So if someone told me that Super 10 is expensive, I would say I understand. And I understand because I know that on a normal day, you don't walk into a supermarket and buy a 1-liter soap of 85,000 Uganda shillings, or approximately $20 in USD. So if someone says the product is expensive, I would certainly say, I understand. That is, now I'm understanding their point of view, but I also want them to understand where I'm coming from. Having told them that I understand, then I will go next to mail and say, exactly, that's also what I felt when I had just started. I thought this product is expensive, but let me show you. When you buy 1 liter of Super 10, in actual sense, you are getting 11 liters of ready-to-use soap. Now, this particular soap that we are talking about, you're not only going to use it for the floor, you're going to use it in your kitchen. So you're going to use it for cleaning your oven. You're going to use it in the fridge. You're going to use it in the microwave. You're going to use it on your chairs. You're going to use it on your sinks. You're going to use it in the toilet. You're going to use it on your windows. You can even use it on your car body. You can use it on the car engine. Wow. All these things just because of one product. Now, also remember that when you are using it, you don't even have to protect yourself because it is non-toxic, it is organic, it is not harmful at all. So if accidentally your child drinks it, you don't have to panic because it will not harm them. So now you realize that this product is not expensive, it is economical. In fact, if you even buy 5 liters, you can get 4 liters plus 1 extra liter if you buy 5 liters at once. So as a result, the person who thought Super 10 was expensive ends up buying a 1 liter pack, a 5 liter pack. Why? Because you first understood them and now they have understood you. So I hope that makes a lot of sense because many times we focus on arguments. When someone says, but these supplements, we have these fruits and vegetables here in Africa. I understand. But let's think about the process. By the time they leave the farm, by the time they get on the road, by the time they get to the market, let's talk about when you buy them and take them home to the store. Look at how we cook and prepare our food. By the time you have it on the plate, you hardly have any nutrients. That's why, yes, we have them in Africa, but we are not getting all the nutrients that our bodies need from the food we eat. That's why we need to supplement. So you can demonstrate understanding to handle objections better. Never have an argument with your customer because winning an argument does not guarantee winning a sale. You could win all the arguments, does not guarantee that they will buy. So just demonstrate understanding. Whenever someone says, I'm busy, I understand. But let me ask, what do you do in your spare time? Oh, I watch TV, I follow the premiership, that's my time off. Yeah, what about you just dedicate 1 hour of your leisure time and use it to build a business that will give you a fortune in the long term? Whenever we are dealing with prospects, whenever we are dealing with our customers, let us demonstrate understanding. Very important. And you can't communicate effectively if you don't understand. The moment people feel like you don't understand them, they will not listen. And communication, as we said, it is two-and. So it is not only about what you're saying, it is about what they are receiving. And then let us learn to look at things from their perspective. So when we are talking to people, let us look at things from the other person's perspective in a way that is demonstrating understanding. So in addition to that, put yourself in their shoes, always put yourself in their shoes. Imagine you were where they are, how would you like to be treated? How would you look at the same situation? So many times people look at some of these things. Sometimes people don't trust network marketing because of the experiences they have had. So when you put yourself in their shoes, then you realize that they are coming from somewhere. In fact, there are times when someone says, this, I personally know someone who tried it, it didn't work. Okay? Then you ask them, do you think did you put in the time that did you give it enough? And maybe they may say, no, at the time I was busy. Okay, if I was willing to support you to grow this business, would you put in the time, grow the business? And then they say, yes. So always put yourself in the other person's shoes. Look at things from their perspective. That way, it will be easy for you to appreciate. Something else that we need to appreciate, especially in our business, is to diagnose, just like the doctors do. Diagnose before you prescribe. When you go to the doctor, they don't just go to the shelf and say, give him Coartem, give him diclofenac. No, they first ask, what is the problem? And then you explain, I have headache, I have some joint pains, I have backache at the lower back. And then automatically the doctor begins to, perform something, so they first do an accurate diagnosis before they do a prescription. In the same way, let us take time to first diagnose. Let's first understand exactly what people need that's when we can give them a good prescription. Sometimes someone who wanted to take TNN big size might end up taking TNN small size. Not because that's what you want, but because that's what they can, or maybe that's what they want. Okay? So many times, don't only focus on what is in it for me, focus on what is in it for them. And then it's important that we pay attention, especially to our distributor. And talking about communication, you will realize that, in fact, in communication, did you know that 7% of the impact of your communication comes from the words that you say? Only 7% is from the words. 93% is nonverbal. So you could find someone in training and ask them, how are you? And they tell you, I'm fine. Now, those are words, 7%. I'm saying I'm fine. But you look at them, you look at their face, you look at their eyes, you look at their body language, you hear the tone of the voice, and everything suggests that I am not fine. And yet the words said, I am fine. And why we need to listen to what they say. But we also need to listen to what they are not saying. That's why I'm saying, pay attention to your downline. Sometimes people will not actually tell you what they are feeling. It is you to see it and sense it. So pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. In fact, John Maxwell has a principle that he says, walk slowly through the crowd. Walk slowly. In other words, when you're with people, slow down. Look at someone. Maybe they're having a difficult, maybe they have just made a decision that was, I know someone who went to the price list. She was so excited. She got the price list and read the distributor prices to the customer. So she gave all the distributor prices. And for her, she knew, I have made my first profit. Only to realize later that the customer had paid exactly what she had used to buy from the warehouse. And she was so crestfallen and so downcast, So a situation like that one, you come and you think people in training are fine. No, they are not okay. Sometimes you just have to pay attention. Pay attention. That's why you need to, as much as possible, it is important for you to meet one-on-one to better understand your distributor. And I find this always so interesting. People come on a call like this. Unfortunately, I can't say how many people we have because my screen is all, But it's very important that you go through a session like this and you think people have understood. And then someone goes home and calls you and says, excuse me, you said when you're mixing LDC, you mix 1 to 10. You see? So while you were talking about Super 10, you talked about Super 10 and then you talked about LDC, and now they have mixed up the things. What is 1 to 10 here becomes 1 to 5 there. So meet people one-on-one. It's very important that you meet people as individuals. You remember, everyone is a one. So meet people as one. Sit down with each person at a time. And it doesn't even have to take 1 hour. No, it can just be having personal time, maybe 10 minutes with someone. Just look them in the eye and find out, how are you doing? That's how my business was saved, because I started this business and for 5 months, I was hardly doing anything in the business. I was just in training. I was not doing much. Then the person who had sponsored me, one time in training, just had a conversation with me and said, Jesse, how is business doing? So that's not a question that you ask to 80 people who have showed up for training. No, it's a question that you ask one-on-one. He asked me, Jesse, how are you doing with your business? Then there was a moment of silence. Then he followed it up with a question and asked, which products are you using? Those are questions we need to ask. You cannot ask that question in training and get the answer. You ask that question one-on-one. Because yes, we come and we talk about all these things, but then when you're with your person, when you're with your distributor, when you're with your downline, ask on a one-on-one. So tell me, how do you feel about the business? And then you listen and hear what they have to say. Tell me, how is it going with prospecting? How are you doing with adding a name to your name list? And then they will tell you, I don't even have a name list. Adding a name to the name list, I feel so uncomfortable approaching people. Oh, okay. Is there any way you think I can help you? Yeah, maybe going with you to see how you do it might be of help. Oh, okay. No problem. No problem. So tomorrow I have an event somewhere. Let's go together and you see how I do it. You see? Now, that is one-on-one conversation. It might be, tell me, which products are you currently using? And then the answer is, no, at the moment I'm not. And you see, that says a lot. No, that says a lot. So some of the things that we are talking about, you may not accurately diagnose them in a big group, but you can get to the root of the problem on an individual basis. That's why it's vitally important that in addition to everything that we do, we make time to meet our people one-on-one, understand how they are feeling, understand what is happening in their business, understand what is happening as far as the basics are concerned, find out, how is it going with approaching people? How is it going with inviting people? How are you doing with your one-on-ones? And then you realize that there's a problem. So it's when you diagnose the problem that you can accurately prescribe a solution. So let's remember these things. Let's remember to meet people one-on-one. Don't take people as a group. Look at each and every person as an individual, give them time, listen to them, pay attention to their need, and find a way to meet them at their point of need. Find a way to solve the problem, because then you can be able to understand it when you meet them at a one-on-one basis. And let's remember that connection happens at an individual level. You connect with people at an individual level. It's difficult to connect with people in a group setting. I think groups are made for motivation, but learning happens at a personal level. Learning, because people are different, people have different situations, people have different circumstances, people are coming from different places, people have different needs, different dreams. So you might stand in training and you do a 1 hour session and you think people have understood. But for you to clarify understanding, it is important that we go down one-on-one and then we get to understand what people are understanding. That's when you'll be able to know whether my people are paying attention or they are not. Sometimes it might be a language barrier. Sometimes it might be that they don't understand the words that they are using. Sometimes it might be that they need you to go a little bit deeper, just like it used to be in class. In class, there are some people who would sit in a classroom and by the teacher teaching, they get it finished. They just go home, they just go to the dormitory and sleep. And those others maybe needed to go and read it a bit more and maybe go to the library. Then others maybe needed to first meet with their friends and have a discussion around what has been taught. Then others maybe even needed to first go and approach the teacher for deeper understanding. So you realize that our people are different and we cannot treat them the same way. So that's what I felt that we should do today. Get to the deeper understanding of what it means for us to seek first to understand before we are understood. Because at the end of the day, if people feel like you don't understand them, they will not stay long in the business. Sometimes people leave because they feel like we are not understanding them. And then sometimes they don't even tell us, before you know it, someone who used to come so often no longer comes. And then you ask yourself, what happened to this person? And then you realize it was just a small thing that you could have paid attention to, but you missed. Sometimes even when someone might get so busy, I always tell people that it's good for you to sponsor many people, because out of the many that you sponsor, not all of them are going to be very active. And then along the way, even those who wanted to be active might tell you know what, currently I am so busy, I don't have time. That's okay. What you can do in such a situation is you can simply say, it's okay. I understand your situation has changed, but you can still use the products. So even someone who may not be actively involved in the business can still become a product user. And at the end of the day, we are paid for the products that people use. So you can still continue to grow your business through a network of people that are using the products. When you pay attention to different people's situations, you can be able to build a stronger and a solid business. So pay attention to everybody in your team. In fact, one of the things I am personally doing is I want to meet each and every person in my team on a one-on-one, even if it is for 5 minutes, at least after the training. Stay around, meet them, have a conversation. Get to know where they stay, get to know where they work, find out, maybe sometimes meet them at their place of work and find out where they work, what exactly happens in their space. That way, you'll be in better position, understand the people that you're working with. And when you understand the people that you're working with, you will work with them in a much better way. So that was our session for today. I hope that you find it helpful, especially in helping us to understand the people that we have in our teams, understanding our customers, understanding our prospects, understanding each other. That way, you will be able to know how to work with people better.